Can everyone hear me? Okay, everyone can hear me? Am I ready? Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you first and foremost to everyone in attendance, also our community members, and most especially our Municipal Planning Council. We're just waiting for one more. We were waiting for one more person, but we do have a quorum. But just following open government law, I'm going to have Lynette read out the attendance so that we can make it official. Okay.
John J.P. Uggin, Alan Warhoff, Kathy Cabell Cruz, Elizabeth T. Cruz, Jesse Cruz, Lynette Cruz, President Fernando Esteves, Diane Garcia, Victoria Lola Leon Guerrero, Matt Muñoz, Bernice Park, Cecilia Marie Perez, here. Austin Terlahi, Edward T. Terlahi, Joel Terlahi, Juanita Torres, Alan Ziegler, Jess Garcia, Joanne George, and Mayor P.J. Terlahi. Mr. Chairman, we have 10 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. In accordance with open government law, our first notification to the public was sent out 5 days ago, and then last week Sunday again it was
This past weekend.
through the one day post. It was also present.
This past Sunday.
I'm sorry.
This past Sunday.
This past Sunday. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. All right. So moving forward, I want to first and foremost beg your patience with me because this is my very first time doing a town hall meeting, but I want to thank everybody for the guidance and also reaching out to the other mayors that have gone through this process. They gave me a little bit of insight in regards to the town hall meeting. What we are going to do is we are going to table the agenda that is set for 6:30, and we are just going to focus on the town hall meeting, which focuses on the rezoning law for application number H2025-24. The applicant, Pacific Energy Corporation, represented by A.B. Flores and Associates, is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the construction and operation of a photovoltaic solar power facility on lots 177-1-4 and portion of lot 177-1-R6 in the municipality of Joliet in an A agricultural rural zone. This area, if anyone is not familiar with this area, is within the Polantec region. And so prior to this particular meeting that we're having, I did call for an unofficial meeting with the developers, also with Willie Flores and Associates, to kind of level out the field when it comes to the questions that we as a municipal planning council had, right? And I did also request that if there are any questions that pop up after the meeting, then we can forward those questions to the applicants so that they can give us a little bit more guidance as to how they approach the situation or approach those particular hurdles. What I provided for each and every one of us on the FEC are all the documents that have been cleared by the Guam Department of Public Works, EPA, and also under the government of Guam. So if you look at all these documents, we can even provide these to the community members that are here. Yes, please come in. Let us have it. Thank you. Okay, so with that said, I want to open the floor to the, I would like to invite maybe Uncle Flores to come in and kind of open the table and open the floor for discussion. If there's any questions that our community partner, I mean, our community members may have.
Buenas tardes, Municipal Planning Council Yona. Isus masih sensitif pada faktor ini representa i pemalizon sulat apa yang dilakukan di para memakai atau memakai para solar farm. I want to thank the Municipal Planning Council for having us here today to comply with the public law, public notification requirements of the law for this proposed conditional use, which is required in an agricultural zone to be used for the purposes of a solar farm, which is considered a utility use. With me today is Yona Rojas. She's a little under the weather. She's our project manager. We also have with us today the principals of Pacific Energy Corporation. We have Mr. Henry Moore, who is the president. We have Tyson Kim, who is the project manager, and the project leader. We have Neil's here with us, and he's one of the technical staff. As the mayor mentioned, that this property is currently, it's in Palata, it's currently a zone. It is just east of where the new water tanks are being constructed, adjacent there. And it is again along Palata Road between here and Rio Palace. The background of this project is that GPA last year put out a bid for additional alternative power sources, specifically solar farm, to produce 20 megawatts of power. The company Pacific Energy Corporation was awarded 20 megawatts. They're putting these 20 megawatts in 4 different locations. One of the locations is up near Two Lovers Point. The other location is adjacent to the old Navy Golf Course in Barabara. Barabara is last one because it straddles that area. The other in Malolo, all the way into the and then the 4th one, of course, is the one here that we are discussing. So the same process has been achieved, the same process, we've gone through the same process for the other programs and the other proposed project sites. And again, we are now here to present to the Municipal Planning Council, to the public, the details of this project and the detail and the requirements for the conditional use. The project proposes to produce about 5 megawatts power. So 5 megawatts will power. It depends on the type of house you're applying the power to. But for regular type houses, it can produce up to 2. You can power up to 200 to 220. For power with more houses with more power demand, probably you're looking at 175 units. So altogether, Pacific Energy Corporation is scheduled to provide enough power to service close to 800 homes total. The reason for as I mentioned earlier, as the mayor alluded to, the reason for conditional use application is that you can, unless there's a conditional use granted, or unless it's an N1 zone property, then you cannot utilize it for this type of development. Now, as the mayor mentioned, that there have been permits issued and there's actually clearing work begun. There was an unfortunate incident when they were first clearing, in that there was brush and the brush and leaves and stuff that were pushed over towards one of the limestone sites off of the, right off of the property. The mayor interceded, and together they worked with, the developer and with, Department of Parks and Recreation, SHPO, and, went over the procedures and what was allowed, um, to make sure that this type of incident doesn't happen again. Also the good end product of that is that there's a couple of limestone sites on the property. And through the intervention and the discussion with the mayor and the SHPO, and the developer, they've agreed to fence off, securing the area, and then allow public access to the area with advance notice, right? Because you can't have the public running into your solar farm or moving into your solar farm. Number one, they're expensive, it's expensive, equipment there, expensive structures. And number two, you don't want anyone getting hurt with their, uncontrolled access. So the access will be there available, but it also will be controlled. That term. So the lot numbers are, the handout we've given you is kind of a summary of what we're talking about. And the lot numbers are 177-1-4 and a portion of 177-1-R6. These, as I mentioned, these lot numbers are currently, or these lots are currently vacant. And so these lots are currently vacant, and so the intended use for the lot, for the conditional use, of course, is a utility use. The third page of the handout that we gave is kind of a general area. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you folks are all aware of the vicinity map. Yeah. Of the vicinity, and the vicinity map kind of shows you where we are generally. The third description is a 500-foot radius map. And at the first public hearing, there were several landowners here who provided good input and good questions about how their properties would be affected. And so the total property that would be utilized for this is about 26, close to 27 acres. There is an old easement that you can see on the 500-foot radius map. You can see running through the property, that little gray line there. That's an old easement that was put there to provide access for the former RCA communication. Right, that's no longer needed, and so we're processing a division of easement request through DPW. I mean through the Department of Land Management. I'm sorry. So the reason for this division of easement is that the properties surrounding already are served by the Palanta Road, and no properties. This goes from one end of the property to the other. It doesn't really serve any of the surrounding lots. So that's in addition to this process that we're going through now, that's the other process that we're doing, is trying to get that division of easement. We met with Leo Palace, because Leo Palace was a secondary beneficiary of this when they first came. But they confirmed with us, and they'll be confirming that in writing, that there's no need for them to use this easement, and they have really no interest in it. So, okay. So then, the overall site plan is on the last page, and you can see that on those lots there, most of the lots will not be utilized. Most of the lot will not be utilized, and the reason is that you have environmental, as you know better than we do, you have environmental and natural habitat, forest, rainforest constraints. You have a stream running through there, and then across the street, there's also that local further down that will not be affected by the project. The stream, as you can see on the last page, is the blue stream line running through there. That will not be affected by the project because it is staying away from there. The red, the red dash line, semi-dash line there is the limit of the project on the side. So you can see that there's a call out there, which is what I alluded to about the approximate location of the of the limestone, that was discovered and stopped the work actually for a couple of weeks. Yeah, during when they discovered that the brush was impeding on that. So then also in the same, exhibit, you can see the farming basins where we plan to contain the stormwater. I'll address that too in a little, but at the bottom left of the development, you can see the battery and the electrical building, and those of you, I believe that most of you understand how this works. So the power is generated through the solar unit. It's taken over to the electrical building. The electrical building then, the inverters and combiners and stuff like that, stores it in batteries. And the final product is that the power is distributed to GPA. GPA will be buying the power, will be utilizing the power. The original design calls for the ponding basin to self-contain the water. I will probably be taking a look at that because we want to make sure that whatever water was being contributed to the stream, we're not cutting that out. So that would be, I think I mentioned that in the first public hearing. We want to make sure. Right now, this is what CHIPO and EPA have approved, but we'll be talking to them about that also. Then you can see the two limestone sites within the footprint of where the solar panels are going to be, and you can see how those have been outlined now, and they will be fenced off and protected, and again, accessible probably through coordination with the mayor's office and the developer. So, in a nutshell, again, this conditional use application is has been presented because the developer cannot move forward with developing the solar farm and the associated improvements with it, unless the zoning is correct. There were several concerns brought up at the last public hearing and the public hearings in other municipalities. One is, will the solar power produce extreme heat, enough heat to affect the neighborhood around it? The solar power, because of the nature of the solar farm, it does not generate heat. It actually sucks the heat in. That's what gives it the energy. It sucks the heat in. So that's one big concern. The other concern was the mobile that's on the outside of the road. Again, the project does not affect the mobile, but I will be checking with Fish and Wildlife and EPA to see if they would prefer that the water after the ponding basin, after it's cleaned up in the ponding basin, if that's put back into the stream, because you can see from from the whole area that it probably fed into the stream. So the one concern we don't want to have is we don't want to be depriving the stream of the adequate flow. And I believe that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, at this time, we're open to any questions you have. We have the developers and the engineers here, their engineers here. So at this time, we're open to any questions. And again, we'd like to thank you.
Thank you. Before, I just wanted to also mention that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, right. I'll just give this to the person. I wanted to afford the community, what do you call it, floor for them to ask questions, because, and this was brought up during our commission meeting at MPC, is that, in previous solar farm projects, right? There have been some soil erosion, defecation of land and also natural resources. And so that was one of the major concerns that was brought up by the MPC when it comes to my personal issue. This is the land sites, these were some of the questions that were brought up, and maybe I've been in just letting MPC know that I've been in direct communication with SHPO in regards to this project with our with our ancient Chamorro sites and also the artifacts in that area. And so, I just wanted to kind of bring it to the table and let the committee know that, we are in direct communication when it comes to, questions that arise into my office from the MPC as well as our community members. So, I did mention to Mr. Patrick Lujan. I actually asked Pat to come so I asked Patrick Lujan to come and maybe provide some insight because he is with SHPO. And so he did message me around 3 o'clock this afternoon stating that he had a prior engagement. However, I have Guam SHPO is on top of this project and assures that all requirements will be met to protect these Latin sites. So, that is given directly from SHPO. If any other MPC members or any of the community would like to ask any questions, the floor is open for discussion. Anyone?
Is there any benefit from the developer that possibly that will give the community of Yona? This is Mr. Mark, he's the president.
And part of the developer. So yeah, the direct benefit will be that the power will actually be, it's different from the other solar farms, and the other solar farms just feed directly to the grid in entirety. But for us, because we are a smaller solar farm, ours actually helps to grid in the local area. So, but of course, it's all subject to the PPAs allowing the circuits to be connected correctly, to be connected at the time. But our solar farm directly affects whatever it's the circuit that it's on, which is going to be done in the area. The other part is also where during construction we're also looking to hire as much local manpower as possible. Specifically, the region is still for the different regions, the 4 different villages that the site will be.
Sorry guys, we're working on a wireless.
No problem.
I'm going to turn the floor to Angie.
Actually, I have some photos of the solar farm that in Malono, and the erosion that is happening there. When I saw the pictures of the photos, I was so appalled at the erosion happening because the panels, there's no vegetation growing underneath the panels. Am I correct? And because of that, correct? You've got your solar panels.
Yeah. But we can't really answer that because we have nothing to do with that part.
I understand, but it's a solar panel, right? You've got a solar panel underneath, and you've got, it's right by the lobby side. And so there's no vegetation growing underneath it. Okay, as we have, with the weather, the rain, and as years goes by, we have that erosion happening. We've got the land side, and you say you've got a ponding basin, but still the area of the land side will be affected in the long run. That's what I'm really concerned with. And I'm not against the solar farm, but the area that you guys are planning to put it at, you are disturbing the area. I mean, you've only got like 20 feet, but still in the long run, you've got this erosion right around the area. You're just, what are your plans with the vegetation?
Hi, I'm Kathy. My concern is I just need a clarification on what it states here. It says 20-foot limestone side buffer. What is the 20-foot, what, can you just describe that for me? What is that meant by 20-foot buffer?
Yeah, from where the landing stones are identified as, anywhere from there is 20 foot out. We're gonna have, separation from the fencing.
Also, the limestone is not steeper than
20 foot
from the.
full around, yes, for the full circumference. Which is, and you can see as well here, but you can kind of see where the lattice stones are, and then you can kind of see that the shape is exactly the same as 20 foot out on your side.
So, yeah, I'd like to respond. You know, that particular issue in that you talked about, we were asked to address that. The problem is, and I'll just be very frank here, is when we gave our recommendations on how to control that erosion, our recommendations were not followed. One of the things that we have discussed with Tyson, who's a project engineer, is that exactly your concern is that you cannot have dirt running off even if it's heavy rain. So there's ways to do that. I don't know what their final decision is. Hoping they'll continue to consult with us. I think they will. But the final decision, but there's you can have stuff that controls the flow of water, like a nice cushion of bedrock, of drain rock, I'm sorry, that would not allow the dirt to leave the area. The problem, as you correctly stated, is that if you're gonna try to get vegetation to grow under the panels, they're not gonna grow because there's no sunlight to get it to go. So the thing is, then you have to use artificial control, which is concrete or drain rock or erosion bed, what we call erosion beds, which are basically long-lasting plastic, and they hold the soil together. But that is a very valid point. That was one of the points I was talking about when I wanted to look at the streams and see how that they flow. Now, the whole solar panel, the whole solar industry on one got a bad name from Marble. I got a bad name from the erosion at that time. So that's the good thing about that is that we are very they are now aware, the solar panel people, they're now aware that the normal erosion control procedures and strategies do not work when you're under with the solar panel. So the best answer is concrete. The problem with concrete is it allows the water to go faster, and you got to control it. The rate controls faster. So if you're going to ask me what I would suggest as an engineering solution, it would be a good layer of drain rock to hold the water and slow it down and control it. Yeah. But I agree with you. We're very familiar with the whole data issue, and at one point, I think they were shut down because of that issue. But I don't know what their recovery is because we're not involved with that. So, but point taken about the care and special attention to the point taken about the care and special attention to the erosion.
So that issue is being brought up with this project as well, is that what?
Since the beginning, we've been talking about that. Since the beginning of this project, we've been talking about the design strategy and how to control them.
And more so in this area, because it's sloped, it's not, I have to talk to the land.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at what happened in that if it's not properly designed here, the same thing would happen here. Exactly. And then, of course, you remember when Leo Palace was being built, right? The Leo Palace, the contractor is still on record as having the highest penalty ever issued by the Corps of Engineers. I think it was a little over $2 million, if I recall correctly, for the same erosion control problem. So it is with the type of soil and with the geography and the geology that we have here. Yeah, we have to take careful looks at that.
I just want to bring up that, I did that report about this because I will get emotional because it's a land site, and it's actually three that have been identified in this area. And I know I brought this up many times. And the reason why is because I grew up in that area. That is where my family lives. And so I'm very happy that we brought up about the erosion. I did bring up with SHPO and I did ask somebody in regards to the Lati sites themselves, right? In the long run, will these specific areas, that are indicated here, regardless of the 20-foot buffering or buffer, right? Regardless of that, will these solar panels directly affect the way or the Lati sites themselves or the Lati stones themselves in regards to, what I was saying, erosion, right? Erosion, in that sense, right? And then I kept going back and forth and saying, I'm grateful that we have Chamorros that are working on this because we are on the same page, right? And then also, of course, our developers, when I put a pause when they were working on the land, I put a pause and they were very, very respectful. These contractors were very respectful. They lived here for almost 45 years. Then I thought about it and I said, well, we got to look at it in the opposite direction. And I'm talking about just the Latin sites. There's many Latin sites all over the island. And we hear in our community that sometimes Latin stones are stolen. Sometimes they're removed from their natural habitat. And of course, as Chamorros, we don't agree to that. That's very disrespectful. So I'm kind of looking at it on a positive aspect to where this particular solar farm can actually be the protection of these specific sites, allowing people the opportunity to visit, but on a more regulated, position, right? And that's why when Lily and I were talking, my question is do the Lati sites need maybe a larger buffer area so that the solar panels do not have any direct effect on these Lati sites, is what I'm actually asking. Does that make sense?
That's a very good question, and as I mentioned before, that's a very good question. The question is the deterioration of the rock that they are made out of, right? Because some are made of limestone, some are made of absolute, some are made of the compressed absolute, which can sometimes deteriorate. The benefit of the solar farm is that the heat, you will not feel the heat from the panels more than 12 inches away above the panels. You do not feel the heat on the side. So what that tells us is that the heat is not being, that heat is not deteriorating. It's supposed to deteriorate the stone. Yeah. So, and then another point I wanted to bring up is that, unfortunately, as the mayor said, this kind of stuff is very near and dear to our hearts as Dr. Donald is very near and dear to our hearts. And what really, I was involved when there was all the construction going on down in San Torres. Remember when we tore up San Torres and we were reconstructing San Torres? And I really did not agree, frankly, with relocating the remains of the people, the folks that were found there, the symbols of the Chamorro culture that was found there. So they were relocated and taken away from where they were buried. The reason why I, as a son of the land, like this kind of development is that it doesn't remove the limestone from the site. So then the big question, as you said, is how to protect the limestone there. But I prefer this kind of development, frankly, because it doesn't require relocation of the. I did a one year and I designed the NAFTA Mananafta, to go up on Hospital Point, and that was very grateful for both Andy and I. I saw a lot during the construction. We were the construction manager there, and again, Shipo directed all of those activities and compliance requirements. I saw a lot of burials being exhumed, right, and put in containers, And then now we're gonna store them all, like in a storage of enough them and enough them. Which shows some respect, but I honestly don't agree with that, but that's, that's not me. So that's why for this personally, I'm not speaking on behalf of the developer, but I'm speaking of me personally, of the problem, that I prefer this kind of layout because it does not remove the lattice stone from the site and it protects it. So then the main issue is as the fencing and as the buffer goes up, we have to work very closely with the developer to make sure that any concerns are.
Well, that the surroundings on the site. The fencing also around the mountain site?
Yeah, just separate the land site from the solar site.
So visitors come, no one's going to run over and jump on top of one of those solar panels.
Well, we don't want them jumping on top of the solar panels, and
Exactly.
we don't want them jumping, around, so by the very nature of the fence, you can tell that this is supposed to be a secure, low floor
Yes.
kind of everything.
But I'm saying the people, the individuals who want to come to visit to the site, who want to pay homage to the site, would they also have, they're saying there'll be a fence within a fence, in other words, to protect.
I would think so, I would think so.
Yeah, we have a site around the entire facility. And then originally, there was no gate on the northeastern side, but we're gonna add a gate to come in that way and visit the site. Of course, like Flores mentioned, because there's electrical equipment there, it'll be scheduled and there'll be a company, right? So that just for safety reasons. But they will allow us to come in and visit the site.
I think this will take care of that, so we stabilize the. Stabilize it, so no motion will affect the movement of the land, so should there be any movement?
I know that there was some plans, right, the developers to add some benches and, to make it a little bit more like a park, and I kind of had a little bit of feeling with that. As Chamorros, we leave it the way it is, right? And so I have requested from, I'm also in direct communication with the representative, Robert Jensen. And I did ask him, I said, brother, although that's a kind gesture, I think the locals will prefer that the laddie sites just remain in their natural habitat. When you put benches around those areas, it's inviting for people to stay, for people to linger. When you leave them on its own, like what Kathy said, was we pay homage and then we do what we need to do and then we just leave, And so I think is the current that was the feeling that I was getting. But although a kind gesture, I see that the developers are really trying to work with the community to see how we can move forward in this project, but also to satisfy the questions and the concerns that remain within the community. Yeah. So any other questions?
Because Uncle Willie brought up during the construction line of Blue Palace, right? Like Mayor said, our family lived in Palanta, and during the development of Leo Palace, from what I remember when I was a kid, that during construction, a whole bunch of big trucks were going through our roads. They broke our roads up, and during that time, from what I remember, we were told, oh, they're gonna fix the road, they're gonna repave the whole plant, all the roads that they broke up to build Leo Palace. It's been already like 40 years, and not been a little bit of stalls been put on our road. So during your construction, do you guys have any plans, to, as far as the damages that you'll be, doing onto our village, as far as our roads, there's gonna be, because you're just gonna be hauling in a whole bunch of there's heavy equipment in there right now. I know there was a big ass, excuse my language, but there was a big excavator there, already digging, already exposing us to have, to have to build the roads and stuff like that. We have to stop, it's getting so muddy. So is there any plans, like, during your construction, that once, like I said, you guys are gonna be bringing heavy equipment in there. And the roads are gonna be getting damaged. Is there any plans to?
There is a certain amount of contingency set up for, road repair, if there's certain.
There is a certain amount of contingency for road repair. There's certain, typically just a certain percentage of what we expect to happen. So yeah, there will be at the end of the project, we'll see, and if there's any road damage that happens, then we'll have so there is just one company buying rock to come in and fix that road.
I think he's on there, also concerned about during the duration, there's a big damage, guys could come do some temporary work, so.
Yes, of course, during construction too, during that time too, there would be temporary ways to alleviate that, but at the end too, there will be road repair for anything that was damaged.
If I may also add to that, NBC members, we do have a draft, I gave it to you. Since you all had brought that up, I do have a draft of the resolution, so, in our next meeting at 6:30, if we do, decide to move forward with the approval of this project, then, the developers and, Abuli Associates will be requesting for land management, a resolution from our end. And in our last, our unofficial meeting, there were, questions raised regarding the whole, regarding the road situation, regarding the erosion and things like that. And so, based on the guidance from Abuli, we will place that into our resolution. So, after the approval of the municipal planning council, then we have 14 days to submit this draft or this resolution based on what our concerns are, based on what our discussions are with the developers, and we will present this to them, and they will directly bring it to Department of Land Management. So I brought this up because in this drafted resolution, which is not set, it's just a draft, and then it also is going to be provided to our developers so that we can also be all in accordance. I do have their memorandum of understanding that was given, or memorandum of agreement, but this is waiting for this particular meeting so we can move forward. If you would like to take a look at this, just to kind of add your quote unquote demands, right? Then we can move forward with this. This is just a draft, which kind of covers what we discussed in our last meeting in regards to erosion, the levee sites, the road repairs, and things of that nature. Also to address the community, what is in it for the community, right? Just for the community's knowing, when we sat down, the first thing I said was, I'm all for any development in our village as long as it provides something for our community. And so that's where the discussion started. And so, they know, just so that everybody's aware, I did draft a resolution. So this is just a draft. It's not set in stone yet. We have 14 days after this meeting to present it to our brothers here, and then they will present it to the Department of Land Management. Any other questions?
Just a matter of the long haul. If I'm still here, going 15 years from now, and something arises due to the beautiful solar panels and everything, will there be a constant representative of the company or the government? I don't know that you can talk to, that you can come to if I wanted to go visit the place 5 years from now because of the life size. It would be someone I would be that's dedicated to answering our questions, to helping us out, or are we just going to put it up and then leave the island and be done with it? How does the corporation deal with that? Is it going to be transferred to another individual, another corporation business here? the concerns that will arise in the future?
Yeah, our current, our current agreement with, Long Power is 25 years. And the developer, us, we're not the only part of the developers, there's other parts of the developers, and we're all, I don't want to raise here as well. Our partners are also actually full tomorrow. So there's no foreseeable future for us leaving.
Take the money and run things.
Yeah, we're at the local, it's, yeah.
So I think he's also asking, like, 5 years from now, you're I'm doing something else. So what would the arrangements be for them to be able to continue to, work through the mayor's office, maybe on access to site, kind of like what they do with Suman, kind of something like that.
Yes. Even without the developers too, developers will always have to, the operations will stop and go on for 25 years, and that's part of the GPA. But other than that, we'll also make sure there's extra, standard procedures that if the developer or if the operating maintenance team is not directly available, you can set up something with the mayor's office, or you can set up something with another entity on Guam to help work, either also Parks and Recs, to help have access to the site.
I think a good question, and I never bothered to ask you this question, would be if after 25 years, you guys don't, what happens to the.
Yeah, so I guess just to make sure it's 25 years plus an additional 5-year option, so it's for a potential 30 years. But there is also a budget set up for us to remove and dispose of all the soil.
Would this development generate any money for the village?
Well, construction wise, there's a lot of money that's going to be going into this, and like I mentioned, we are looking to see how much, and as much as possible, to hire local village as much as possible. In terms of the construction is when most of the money is spent. Other than that, again, I guess the other benefit would just be the better reliability of power at that point. It's kind of more like, it's almost like a community solar development rather than utility development, in that because we're using the lower 13.8 kV lines, that's where we directly connect to all of our residential directly connect to. Yeah, so it's more serving the people that's on that circuit. It's not like the other solar farms, what they do is that they actually go to a bigger substation and just spread out on the island, right? Where ours is kind of more just in the lower area. And then if there's excess, then you can move to
Just one more question, sorry. I'm a teacher, so the mastermind of this entire project, the person that is at the top who planned this and then also extended it to the world or whatever, outside of your country, outside of your nation, outside of someone. So their intent is to harness energy for the protection of the world, or to better the world. Is that the goal? Y'all, you're not gonna say no. So because if that was its initial intent, and it's not so much the dollars, then bless the project. God bless the project. The world will be protected. The world and our children will learn from this and benefit from this, and their children. What's the point? The point is, what it is. And I pray that is. And anytime we come together as a group like this, it's not to harm you, but it's because we are thinking of our future. I'm a grandma, so I'm already at that point where I have 3 generations already following me, the great grandma soon to be. So I need to think about where this will benefit the future for this island. Because a lot of people who used our island from the past, 100 centuries, and have taken what they wanted and left us. So we need to talk, we need to speak out, and maybe for justices in what's being taken, including our pride and our love of the island. And we want to make sure, we want to really ensure that whoever comes in to reap the benefits of this paradise And for me, it always be paradise. I want to make sure that that person knows what's being felt by that's being given. That, we just want to speak out so that we don't become idiots in the future who didn't stand up for their country, for their island, for their territory. And it's sad that the world thinks that way, because the entire world is everyone's territory. Those that please, this is my land, that's my land. The entire planet is our territory. So we have to think that way. If I'm teaching this to my students, I need to teach this also to the students. And how to talk to them later. And I just wanted to say that.
You brought up a good point. The reason for solar panels and solar energy was to lessen dependence on fossil fuels. So it's a clean sort of energy, but it does, as you can see, consume a lot of real estate. Just because until as the solar technology continues to improve, and as it continues to improve, then we're pretty sure that more efficiency will come and you will need this type of real estate, this magnitude of real estate. So the solar, as you mentioned, the original impetus for the solar energy, the solar panels and this type of setup is exactly that, to lessen the dependence on fossil fuels. So hopefully everyone, I think we're all in the same boat. We want clean energy, we want clean, we're on the same boat here. And I'm not allowed to say, but I feel the same way about the way our island is being used by people. And so, again, together we can keep an eye, have each other's back on this issue, and move forward. I still heard, when I think about what happened down in San Torres, and of course I heard when you see what's happening up at Camp Laws, right? So those kind of things, we, in our own little sphere, we have to do our part. I agree.
Any other questions? Any questions?
Angelica Care is a member of the community, and my question. After the life of the project, you mentioned the budget for cleanup and disposal, and I wanted to ask if that budget would include, is it remediation? Is that the word? Returning the land back to condition that would be fit for agricultural use?
Sorry, to be honest, I haven't been about to what the land be after the but I mean, it goes back to what it was before, and before it was before. So I actually, I think it's actually from someone who's love to do this. Again, yeah, they would just go back to what it was before. There's good nothing there one time, right?
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Okay, so if there's. Going back and forth, I was just mentioning to Janice that we need to procure for this mic system. Okay, so with that said, I know we went over time. It was supposed to start from 6 to 6:30, but it's very good. I'm very, very grateful, and I think this is very, very healthy for us to bring everything to the table and to have our community members also question, because this is our land, right? And we want to make sure that we utilize its resources to the best of their abilities, not for ourselves, but for our children, right? And I do sympathize with everyone's concerns. I do sympathize with our MPC members as well. But I do also applaud our partners the developers and the Woody for coming in and providing some insight on some of these concerns that we have. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a 10-minute recess. And then from there, we will move on to our second meeting, and then we will move on to the voting, right? But before I recess, and Marie had a question, and I already responded to it, is to visit the site. You know, if we can go in and visit the site as a group, as an MPC member, as an MPC group. And I said, of course, you know, right now there has not been any development happening, and that's why they're at our, you know, at our meeting. But there has been grading, what is the grading and clearing and grading, just to make sure that, and that's the thing that I had to educate myself on, right? It was just like, who started this? Blah, blah, blah. So I actually went in there and I put a halt because I'm not familiar with the process, right? And so all I saw was trees gone, but educating myself, you know, being educated, saying, okay, we're making sure that the land is stable, and so that the natural waterways flow correctly, so that when the development does happen, then we don't have to approach any of these or encounter any of these situations. So just for clarity purposes and you know, for transparency and accountability, would we be able as an MPC to visit the site, you know, as a team? Okay, of course. All right, so with that said, I'm going to, right now it's 7:03. We will reconvene at 7:13. Okay, so we will hold a recess. Thank you. Nice. We're gonna get started with the next portion of our meeting. It is 7:13. Okay, so again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna, because of open government law, this is the second meeting, which was actually set for 6:30, but I'm again very grateful that we were able to have these discussions. So now we're gonna focus on our agenda. Okay, but I'm gonna call this second meeting to order at 7:14 PM. We will continue with attendance.
John J.P. Ucken, Alan Warhol. Is there anyone on Zoom? Kathy Calvo Cruz, Elizabeth Cruz, Jesse Cruz, Lynette Cruz present, Fernando Steves, Diane Garcia, Victoria Lola Leon Guerrero, Matt Munoz, Bernice Park, Cecilia Marie Perez, Austin Terlahi, Edward T. Terlahi, Joel Terlahi, Juanita Torres, Alan Ziegler, Jess Garcia, Joanne George, Mayor BJ Terlahi. So Mayor, we have 11 council members, we have a quorum.
Thank you. In compliance with open government law, our notice of town hall meeting and our second municipal planning council meeting was placed on the one-day post on May 6th and then again on May 10th. So we are going to table the secretary's minutes and we are going to table the treasurer's report. Earlier this afternoon or this evening, we heard testimonials from testimonials from Pacific Energy Corporation, along with Willie Flores and WB Flores and Associates, and also had questions from the community, along with the municipal planning council members. So we are now going to proceed with voting, okay? And we are voting on the new business. Okay, we are tabling the secretary's minutes and treasurer's report, and we're going to move on to Roman number 5 with the new business on the rezoning lot. Again, application number H 2025-24. The applicant, Pacific Energy Corporation, represented by WB Flores and Associates, is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the construction and operation of a photovoltaic solar power facility on lots 177-1-4 and portion of lot 177-1-R6 in the municipality of Yona in an A agricultural/rural zone. Can I get a motion for approval on the request? Any motion?
I move that we have approval as long as the issues that were mentioned are addressed.
For the sake of the online, take that motion.
I move that we make an approval for the new business portion of the meeting regarding the rezoning lot and the application. Provided that the issues that were addressed this evening will be addressed also by PEC.
There's a motion on the floor to accept. There's a motion on the floor to approve the rezoning request of H 2025-24 with the conditions that will be placed in our resolution from the Municipal Planning Council, with the conditions of based on the town hall meeting, with the concerns and questions that they are addressed. Do I get a second? Seconded from Councilmember Jesse Garcia. Are there any questions? Motion carried. Everybody say aye. All opposed say nay. And motion is approved. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, Sizulus Masi. Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving forward on our agenda, we are going to now call on Mr. Kylan Eckert to give us a little bit about letters. We're going to table type of restoration because we are continuing with restorations. And he's been waiting patiently. Thank you, Kylan. And I want to turn the floor over to him.
NPC members, we went ahead and sent you on your WhatsApp group chat the information that he will be sharing, so you can check your WhatsApp.
Thank you for that. Thank you, ladies. Jesus Masi. Thank you. And I will be in communication. Jesus Masi.
Yes.
Thank you. Just for the record, yes. Mention your name and.
Yep, my name is Kylan Eckert. I am just a private citizen slash flag lover. I mean, I like flags. I know it's a weird hobby, but that's my thing. And I know flag design can be a contentious subject, but I didn't know that we needed a police presence for it. I appreciate it, but there's no one here to jump me anymore. I also have this here. I think this is something you guys can share and just pass around as you finish it. It's also kind of in the notes, but that gives a little more detail. That's my yellow book there. Now, I wanted to say after this first meeting, all right, sorry, I'm a teacher also. This is how I'm comfortable. I wanted to say I feel very proud to be working with you guys. This seems like an NPC that really cares about. I mean, you're talking about all the Laddie sites. You guys have all grown up here. So this to me is like the perfect group to talk about for plans. So if I can go through it, and you can kind of see on the pictures that were provided, that's basically my PowerPoint. I was like, okay, we can't do PowerPoint, but I can just send pictures, so that works. Okay, so starting with what does a good flag look like? The case in point is Chicago. If you're looking at that, Chicago has one of the best, in my opinion, city flags. This is like sub-national flags. So when you think of a good flag, right, we've got the good old US of A, we've got Canada, Japan, right? They follow certain principles that every good flag design follows. There are some exceptions to the rule, like the Olympics, right? It breaks all the rules. But there are some exceptions. But if you want to get a good flag, you're going to follow these certain rules. One of those good flags is Chicago. I mean, just take a look at look at the pictures. The police officers all have the Chicago flag on it. Even when a police officer passes away in Chicago, they don't bury them with the US flag, they bury them with the Chicago flag. And I think that speaks to how good of a flag you have. How many of you have watched my wife's favorite movie, Home Alone? Right? If you look on the bottom part of that, the Chicago flag pops up twice on that, what's a good flag look like Chicago. Kevin's bedroom, if you look at Kevin's bedroom, he sleeps under the Chicago flag. Bet you never noticed that. You know who did? I did, because I like flags.
I'm like, Chicago flag, no one cares, Kyle, no one cares. Really. Also, you have, the police officer, I can't believe I'm blanking on the actor's name, what's his name? The Italian guy who used to always cuss in all those movies, he's in My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, yeah.
Him, right, that guy, right, when he was the police officer on his shoulder patch, right, or on, on his shoulder, he has the Chicago flag. On the top right of that picture, of the Chicago stuff, you also see people making a lot of bad decisions by tattooing the Chicago flag on them in many different ways, but guess what? They don't care about your opinion, they love their Chicago flag, because they love where they're from. Me, I would never get a Chicago flag tattooed on me because I don't like Chicago that much. I like the flag, but I never get a tattoo. Now, first rule, if you look at the next slide or page, is pretty simple. Keep it simple. The flag should be so simple that a child could draw it from memory. If I told you, could you draw the Guam flag? You guys should be able to. I think I did it all the time, even though, yes, it is actually a little complicated, but the scene itself has been ingrained in our minds so many times that we can do it. Can you draw the Canadian flag? Can you draw the Japan flag? Can you draw a circle? Right, you're good. All of those flags, you can draw them from memory, especially if you want your kids, your grandkids to be proud of where they're from. You want them to be able, as they're coloring, right? You want them to be able to draw that flag. Okay, next thing, and you can see the good and bad examples. Mali is just three bars. Hong Kong is pretty simple. Turkmenistan, the one on the left, that is what we call carpet stand, because that's actually what it is. It is 5 different patterns that they use. That's one of the ones where it does not follow this keep it simple rule, but it follows the next one, which is use meaningful symbolism. That one, it hits especially on use meaningful symbolism. Number 2, use meaningful symbolism. The flag's images, colors, and patterns should relate to what it symbolizes. It's got to have a meaning behind it. It's not, we're going to add a star because I like stars. Right? We're going to have a square here. Why? Well, 4 is my favorite number. And that doesn't make any sense. What is it symbolizing? Who is it symbolizing? Do they feel represented by those things? That's the key. Do you as a community feel represented by the flag? I don't know how many of you know what the Yona flag looks like. It will show up later, right? You can look forward in the, actually, I don't know if it's in the notes, but it's in the pictures. But it's something like, do you feel represented by it? And that's kind of what you want to ask. So use meaningful symbolism. If you look at the Kenya one is, it's a hide shield with 2 spears. That's a traditional warfare thing. Sorry? That was a cockroach. That was my nickname in volleyball, actually. They said because I was all over the floor. I think that might have been the nice one. Now that I think about it, maybe that was the nice explanation for it. Number 3, use few basic colors. Few. Okay, you don't want the poor kid it's like, can I have the blue? Can I have the dark blue? Can I have the light blue? Can I have black? And this, and this, and this, right? You don't want them right? You don't want to have to buy the 24 or 48 pack for your kid to draw the flag. Limit to 3 or 4, which contrast well. Again, you don't want blue with blue with blue. You don't want that. You don't want green with green with green. You want light green with a dark, or a light with a dark against each other. And they come from the standard color set. If you're looking at your phones with the pictures, Tokyo is one of my favorites. It's just purple with white. So those of you looking at it black and white, it's very simple. It's purple with white. Here's what I love about it. It's so simple. They put it everywhere. Next time you go to Tokyo, look at the sewers. Look at the manhole covers. All of them have that symbol, because that is a government-owned facility. So all the government-owned facilities have that symbol on it. And it doesn't need to say in Japanese, it doesn't need to say property of the government of Tokyo. It just has that seal and everyone knows, don't touch that. That's the government's. Okay. Next one. This is one that a lot of American city flags and then almost all of the Guam village flags, except for one in Iran, struggles with. Number 4 is no lettering or seals. No exceptions. Sorry, you cannot put the name of the thing you're symbolizing. You cannot, because what's the use of writing what you're symbolizing? Just write it then, right? If our flag of Guam just said, like in red letters, it's just blue with Guam on it, what's the use of that? It doesn't make any sense. Instead, we should have a symbol that represents Guam. We don't say Canada on it. Plus, the other thing is, you gotta realize, when it's facing one way, right? When it's facing one way, and I flip it and I'm looking on the other side, it says Maui, which is actually another island in the northern part. So same thing with Canada. If you write something and it flips, now it's reading the wrong way. Also, most of the world does not speak English. So it does them no good because they can't read it anyway. Also, little kids can't read it, right? You want them to be able to write it and draw it. So no lettering or seals. And the last one there is one of the most important to me. Be distinct or be related. One or the other. Choose your lane. Are you going to be different from everyone else, or are you going to show we are like this group, right? The flags, the village flags of Guam should be distinct, but they should also scream Guam, right? They should also be like, yeah, that fits. That's Guam. That's a Guam. Or minimum, it should be where the people in the village are instantly recognized. Yes, that's definitely, like, if they've never seen this flag, you're like, what village do you think this is? They're like, that's John. Easy, right? Something like that. So it's the key is you're not trying to put all of the symbols. You're not trying to squish everything in. Because if you do, now it becomes crowded and everyone's trying to see what symbol is it that represents you. Right? Instead, it's maple leaf, Canada. Right? Most people did not realize that was Canada's symbol until they put it on their flag and they decided this is going to be our symbol and we're sticking to it. Okay, because it used to be a British flag, because they used to be a British territory, until they decided we are forging our own identity and we're branding ourselves with this, and this is it. Okay, so be distinct or be related. Now, the next one, I did some research here on the flag that we currently have. That is the current flag of Zone, which is actually pretty simple if you're looking at just the flag. But then the issue comes when you add. We go to rule number 4. We add the seal. When we add the seal, that's what complicates things. So if you look there, it says on the flag there are only 5 colors, which again is pushing the limits on that. There's 5 because there's 2 yellows on it. That's the reason why. Right, so it's pushing the limits. But then when you add the seal, it adds 23 colors. Right? Again, that poor kid. It's like, I'm gonna need red, or I'm gonna need the pink. No, I need the pink. No, I need the pink. Right? There's no choices. I've got to have all these different colors. Right? Let's say we minimize that into 8. Oh, that's still 13 altogether. You don't want that. It becomes a burden on the kids. They don't want to drive. Mom, I don't want to write their kid. They're at St. Francis. I don't want to drive anymore. I don't want to do it. I don't like this flag. Okay, so going through it, does it keep it simple? No, it doesn't. Why? The main thing is the seal. That's the main thing. Use meaningful symbolism. Yeah, it has the Latin stone. It has a tagache there. And I think even if you're looking at it this way, this is the view of Tagache, the beautiful sunrise, right? For me, sunrises require a whole lot more work to get to than the sunsets. My mom loves the sunrises more than the sunsets. I do too, but I just love my sleep a little bit more. Now, meaningful symbolism, good. Use a few basic colors, no, not even close. No lettering or seals, sorry. It says on it, municipality of Yona. And then it also says, what is it? The strength of people united on it, right? But it's so small. If that flag is waving, you can't read that. There's no use. If you can't see it while it's waving, then there really is no use for it. You got to make sure your symbols are big enough that people can identify it from a distance. If I can give a quick history lesson as a teacher, right? Flags were originally created for war. In the worst circumstances, let's say Typhoon Sinlaku, right? I was here for Paka and Pongsanwa, and I was born just after, or just before Omar, right? I know I don't look it, right? But imagine the worst of circumstances. Can they still tell that that's the Yona flag? Can they still tell that it's your flag? That's the key. So you need the symbols that are strong enough, right? That contrast is good enough that you can see it from a distance and you say, yes, that's my flag, right? And one of the best parts about you guys being first is you guys are claiming colors that others are like, we should have gotten that one first, right? Like you guys can claim those things first. So now everyone else is copycats, right? And then if you look at the Yona symbol survey results, this was sent, I don't know how many months ago, it was a while ago. It was well done. I'm sorry for those of you who are like what I'm gonna be soon. And I can read it to you. I can read it to you. Basically, the colors that the village said that best represents Yona are green, brown, white, blue. Right, those are the most positive, and then the negative colors would be red, purple, and orange, and a little bit of yellow. Now, I'm not saying just because those things are put there, then we cannot use it, or we have to use these. This is giving us a good idea. How do people feel represented? And I'll say this: green and blue, everyone feels represented by green and blue. You go to all the states, and their new city flags, they're all green and blue. So I want to stay away from that. The green-blue combo, if possible. Natural features, they said beaches, rivers, jungles. Plants, they put the putitainobu and hibiscus, and I think we are thinking of switching, right? Okay.
Explain that to me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And you'll see it in some of the flag designs as well. Animals, there was no doubt. This was the one thing. Everyone said one animal. Can you tell me what it is?
Carabao.
The carabao. It's the carabao. It's right out there. Does that thing have a name? May I suggest Kylan? Right, Kylan the carabao. I'm just saying. Right. So that was the biggest symbol to me. More than the colors, more than anything, it was carabao. If you look on the very bottom, that little thing on the bottom there, whoop. That's one of the options for Carabao. All the other options are like Carabao spelled different, right? With an OW, with a K, everything was Carabao. Once in a while, the crab, because there's crab hunting that goes here, right? Someone I think joked with muscular Carabao, right? I wasn't good at drawing that one, so I didn't go with that. But Carabao was the overall, like that's the dead weight. For sure, like of any sort of symbol. Do you guys agree on that? Like that would be so. That's something that I tried to lean into. Me and my team. It's not just me, right? It's me and other guys with better ideas. And they did a good job. So I wanted to show if you can. It should be on the pictures. I have like 9 choices. And it's not that I'm necessarily married to these things. I am totally open for feedback. But here you go. Here, I have these as well. The color's not as, it's kind of faded. Here you go. Yes? A crotch. Okay.
Like crotches. Can I just say?
Yes.
Oh.
The jockstrap. I'm familiar. I'm a Tonsil Ranger. And here's the thing, this is like, that's me, like I said, I'm not married to this, right? I'll just cry later in my car later, right? But these are things that I want to get feedback from you guys as much as possible. Because this, again, these are my ideas of what represents you. In the end, it's you guys, you should decide what represents you. Yes?
So this is actually based off of the survey.
Correct. Yeah.
So, but this is not dense. set in stone, but,
No.
you know, when Kylan came to the mayor's council and he did a presentation, unanimously, we all agreed that these flags, actually the existing flags from our villages do not directly represent, I mean, the villages themselves, right? And going by the expert explaining symbolism and stuff, I spoke to him directly and said, hey, I need your assistance, right? And so that's, this of course is not set in stone, this is just based on ideas that came from the community. Remember last year I sent out these links to kind of do a survey, and that was based on it. If you notice, down in the bottom letter G and letter H, the Gausali, just because, you know, for the record, I reached out to Kaha, I reached out to what is it, Melvin Wampat Borja with Department of General Affairs, and I said, who approved these flowers for the villages, right? And he couldn't answer me. So we reached out to his mom, who was the senator at the time, and the idea was that so she gave feedback, right? So I called GBB, I called Kaha, I called every single person that probably could give me input. According to former Senator, now Superintendent Judy Wonpan, the idea for the flowers came out to when the idea from GBB was going to start their festivals. Remember when the festival started? The foundation of the festivals were supposed to celebrate a flower. And so what was presented from the legislature was like, okay, you have the bougainvillea, you have the calatusa, you have this, and you celebrate that flower. That was the foundation of the flowers that are being assigned, I say assigned, to the villages. You know, personally, I don't agree with the bougainvillea, you know, being assigned to Zoltan. But I know that during Lupilo's time and all of those, it was understood, but not officially adopted from the community and from the municipal planning council. That's the reason why I brought Kevin here, is because we need to make an official adoption. Jomia would be the first, you know, so I suggested the Gausali, because the Gausali or the Guasali grows on Tagatan cliffs. If you actually drive to Tagatan right now, well, not now, but on a sunrise, and you see the cliffs, they have these white little dots on them, and that's Gausali. Secondly, the Gausali is very, very indigenous. It's an indigenous flower to the Mariana Islands. Okay. Thirdly, none of the villages have adopted the Gausali. Okay. And then fourthly, the bougainvillea, which is actually named after a French navigator. His name is Bougainville, but that's where the name comes from. And then I'm also a history teacher too, right? So and then if you translate that to Chamorro, the Taino view really doesn't have a nice phrase, you know what I mean? So that's where I kind of was going with the Gausali. And I reached out to Kylan and I said, hey, how can we add the Gausali to the flag should the people accept it, right? And so these are just kind of some suggestions that Kylan kind of threw out. I've been in communication with him, we've been talking about this, and he goes, Mayor, just give me a little time because I need to get the survey. But just to give you a history on these existing flags as well, these existing flags were actually based on the municipalities that we created sister cities with in the Philippines. So if you notice, the designs of the flags were kind of Filipino influence, right? And you can actually see that when you see the sister cities. But those flags have they remain now in at the Mayor's Council of Guam because nobody uses them. But because they're the existing symbolism of each village, they're being brought to the table again. So you know that's just a little bit of history behind the flag and the flag.
Thank you. Yeah, and I want to reiterate that again. You guys are the ones that are taking charge first, which is, it's like, it's prime real estate. You guys are the first ones to go out and do it. So Uh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
The wasabi, I'm sorry to the fact that I was so focused on the rezoning that I forgot this, but I will get the information.
sorry, what's,
I'm just trying to find out if there's a literal translation.
oh, for Nelson. I'm not sure. But I mean, if you want even more, like, when it comes to the flags especially, you almost want to tell a story about it. You want to be able to tell people, let's say a tourist comes by, oh, I really like your flag, oh, let me tell you something about it. That's something that you really want to do. And so with the Gausali or Guasali, you can talk about how, because it was a cliff flower, there used to be like the young Chamorro males would climb the cliff to get it, right, and bring it to the young women, right, to impress them, right, until other Chamorro males realize it doesn't have to grow on the cliff, it just has to grow on the rock, which is down here, right? You can just make it grow there, right? Those guys, they cheated. But if you go to Oka Point or something, you're gonna see the Gausali on the side there. Like, that's when I was told about it. I said, imagine going to Oka Point and climbing to get that. That's how much that flower means, right? That's a flower that means risk. It means love, right? It means dedication, right? So these are all things that when you talk about Zonia, right? That's what it means from Zonia. That's what it means, right? And everything is encapsulated by the Gansal, right? Now the overwhelming symbol chosen was it was the Carabao. But here's all you gotta do, honestly. You just plaster the Gausali everywhere. It's very easy to draw. Super easy to draw. You put the Gausali on the Carabao, right? You put a giant Gausali on it, and now you have combined the two symbols by doing that, right? It's a very easy symbol to plaster. That's why when he said it was the Gausali, thank goodness, that one's easy to draw. Right? I have another village that's going with like a type of hibiscus, and like, man, this one spirals. Ooh, this one's tough, right? I really gotta ask for help for that. But this one's pretty good. I enjoyed this one a lot. Yeah. Sorry.
I just have to go back to the roots.
Yeah.
Because I just like talking and everything, something like
that.
I just look at that's all it's circle that. So is more powerful than Carabao. Carabao actually brought here the Ethiopian symbol, so he was brought here. But the Latin symbol was what 6,000 years before Carabao here. And we talked about foundation. So we're talking about foundation, we're talking about risk, we're talking about beauty. Maybe all these things are integral parts of the building. But I really want to put a lot of cylinder at the point because I'm looking at the car, but it's just the design, everything to me looks. So where they'll say, I'm just way down.
That's
So what, for the sake, I'm sorry,
yeah.
for the sake of time purposes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we're gonna do is we're not going to vote on this right now, because I know that there's this will be up for discussion again.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to respectfully ask that we take this, this again, remember this was based off of survey. We take this and use this maybe as the foundation, kind of bring it back to the table.
Yep. And
then we can we don't have to have an official meeting until we're going to officially adopt this for our but I wanted to kind of bring that to teachers we want to make sure that we get to the bottom, right, and we make sure that we have information out, but just for the sake of time purposes, because it's almost 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
If possible, that we can revisit this and then we can get the feedback of the MPC, and then I can roll it out to you and say, hey, this is what we kind of talked about, what based on this, and then we can move from there, and then move to an adoption.
Yep. I would highly encourage you do what she was already doing. That's actually what the note cards were for. I was gonna have you try to draw something using those using those. Right, here we go. We got the application now of the skills. right? Have fun with it, right? Go be a kid again, right? And here's the key, you don't need to color it. That's actually one of the best things is to not use any color first. Use a simple pencil, draw what you think should go on it, then go back and check like, wait, hold on, did I write any words on it? Right? Like maybe I did, maybe I didn't, that kind of thing. So take a shot at it. I can tell you this, I am not an artist. Okay, I am not an artist. Everything that you see there, that was like me just kind of Googling how to make this on this program. I started with PowerPoint on how to make this stuff, right? And it's something that if you're doing it freehand, you're gonna feel a whole lot more engaged in the process. So I would highly encourage you, try it out, right? Take a look at Miguel Sally, take a look at Carabao, try your hand at it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kylan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just for the record, we are going to take this, and then we're gonna revisit this. If we have a side meeting for this, and then also the adoption of the flag, the flower. And then we're thinking about the animal, the bird, so we'll take this up and then thank you for the kind of for joining us. Just
It's liberation night.
Yeah.
right, yes, as a matter of fact, we're working on it. But something we did already ask for them. Anyway, so I'm gonna move on to announcements. So because of the immense upcoming events that are happening. My Saturday Chamorro classes and activities, Chamorro classes have been postponed until after summer. Okay, so we will let you know. So we want to make sure that we're going to revisit it again. Okay, upcoming village events. We did have our Mother's Day event. Remember that we are continuing on with our Friday night markets. If you notice, our Friday night markets are starting to build. The whole purpose for our Friday night markets, guys, was to bring our community. But I'm really at the mercy of public health, right? And so when our community asks to sell things, I would, by all means, I would love for them to sell. But if they don't have the proper the proper documents, permits, and things like that, then ultimately it falls in our office, and I do not want to be penalized, especially when we're moving into the summer time with liberation, or festival, or fiesta. So a lot of the times, community members will call my office and say, well, they need us doing this, but let's doing this, and blah blah blah. But understand that we are just starting, and so of course they're always going to look at the newbies, right? They're always going to make sure that we are in compliance, and all I want is just to be compliant. That's it. So, with the Friday night markets, we want to make sure that, we continue to build, but also following the procedures. When it deals with food being served and sold in at the Friday night market, okay? We do have our bingo fundraisers that will be coming up. I know that we have some bingo fundraisers here. It's no secret to the community that our sister Lynette's daughter Ella Marisa Pela is our Jomia 82nd Liberation Day candidate for the 82nd Liberation for Queens. So we've been putting out a lot of information regarding her fundraisers, and then of course I put together our festival committee. I put together our it's not here, but our Jomia Neighborhood Watch block leaders. Rezoning, all of that. So, I know that we were focused today on the rezoning. It's been a long night, but let's just, I just wanted to put out information regarding that. And does anyone have, and just so everybody's mindful, this year is the Jubilee for St. Francis, our patron saint. So, our office is going to be heavily involved with the planning of the fiesta this year. 800 years, right? 800 years. So I've already spoke with Father Felix, and I said I want the office and our community more engaged and more involved. So how can we move forward with that? So I have Auntie Marie always in communication with me in regards to the church, and then also Auntie Juanita and Auntie Kathy was asked. So with that said, does anyone have any questions, any comments? And it's, I wanna just bring that up. Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I adjourn this meeting at 7:52 p.m. Thank you guys very much. Have a good day. Motion. Can I get a motion? I'm sorry, I'm so bad with Robert's rules of order. Can I get a motion to make a motion for the adjournment? Okay, Auntie made the motion. Anybody second? Auntie Marie. Okay, I motion, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:52.